Mary points to a God that subverts all expectations. In some Christian circles, Mary is portrayed as a submissive example of womanhood. Often, those who want to uphold patriarchal notions of womanhood, notions that say women need to be quiet and have kids, submit to men, refuse leadership positions, and that exclude trans women, bolster their horrific ideas on what being a real woman is by pointing to Mary. And yet this image of Mary does both her and women in general a great disservice. Sadly, some forms of Christianity are an exercise in oppression. They seek power at the expense of the marginalized, and they seek to create a world where women are second-class citizens and queer people are forced to hide who they are in order to live. These forms of Christianity claim that drag queens are a danger to society and children, and yet these very same Christians often refuse to hold pastors and other church leaders accountable when they hurt children. These forms of Christianity also claim a traditional understanding of marriage and relationships that allows abuse, especially abuse against women, to thrive. But God didn't choose Mary to reinforce an oppressive status quo. If God wanted to enter the world to fortify unjust systems, God would have chosen someone who embraced and represented the structures of power. Instead, God chose a poor Palestinian Jewish teenager who responds to the announcement of being chosen to birth the Son of God by proclaiming a God of liberation and justice. Not exactly the image of meekness and feminine submission that she is often portrayed as embodying. God subverted the expectation of a dominant society. Why wouldn't God still be doing the same today? Why wouldn't God be calling us to put aside our obsession with maintaining destructive power structures and embrace God's strange and liberating work? God continues to honor and uplift the very ones society despises, and yet who have the courage to push back against the status quo. Women who bravely follow God's calling in their lives, queer people, trans people, drag queens, subvert society's expectations. They, like God's calling of Mary, force us to put aside the idea that God works to reinforce repressive norms.